What's happening, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back to Junk Drummer TV, and welcome to episode 7 of what makes this drum track great. Today's drummer is going to be the lesser known in the Jack White universe. I think Patrick Keeler is probably my favorite of the three. When you think of Jack White, of course, you think of Daru Jones, Meg White, obviously, and Patrick Keeler. And Daru and Meg gets a lot of the press, but Patrick Keeler deserves just as much. So we're going to fix that today. We're going to look at the 2008 release. I can't believe it was that long ago. Consolers of the Lonely from the Raconteurs, which might be my favorite Jack White project. But if you ask me tomorrow, I'll probably say another one. That's how much I like that guy. This track has everything that I like about drums in it. So let's check it out. Now you're going to notice off the bat here, we start out in one tempo and end up in another. That is everything about a drum part that I like. It's a signature. It's a hook. I used to do this groove as a sound check for years in clubs and bars all over this land, and no one ever caught it. This is probably the least known song that I've done on this series, and that is just a crime against humanity. So if you watch my channel, you know that I am a huge fan of drum hooks. I love Dave Grohl, so of course I love a drum part that is immediately recognizable to a song, and this drum track is that. So this first thing. I mean, you can hear that and know that that is obviously the drum track to this song. I love it. I love that he's using a 24-inch bass drum. He's obviously using a 24-inch bass drum, and I'm a big fan of those. The feel that Patrick Keeler plays with is really the spotlight of his playing. His parts are obviously great, but on this track in particular, the way that he plays really far behind the beat, that propels the feel of the song. It's very difficult to do, and it's very hard to do consistently. Now, I also think that he's recording without a metronome, and we'll figure that out here in a second.
I want to double check that.
Now, they're bringing that part into the verse. He adds a little drum fill. That now becomes part of that 4-measure phrase that we just played. That 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1. Notice right there he doesn't do any bass drum. It's just wide open. And it's just that snare drum part. Sometimes as drummers, it's hard for us not to play, if you know what I mean. Patrick Keeler doesn't have that problem. And then the 3rd measure. Right? I mean, dude, that is the epitome of just taking relatively simple rhythms. All that stuff is just eighth notes and quarter notes, and there's an E of 4 in there, E of 4. But by taking something relatively simple as the building block and making something that interesting, that's true artist. That's true artistry.
Haven't seen the sun in weeks. My skin is getting pale. Haven't got a mind left to speak, and I'm skinny as a rail. Light bulbs are getting.
You can hear that bass drum, that 24-inch bass drum. It's real pillowy, and it's like that's like a initial attack, and then a lot of like after it. I love that sound. If you like that sound, I mean, you like John Bonham's bass drum sound.
My interest is starting to wane. I'm told it's everything I'll make you want, and I shouldn't complain. Conversation's getting dull. There's a constant buzzing in my ear. Sense of humor's void and numb, and I'm bored to tears.
So we're here at the chorus, I guess. This song doesn't really have like a real traditional verse, chorus. It's got like A, B, C, A, D, sort of. If you break down songs like we do jazz tunes, which I do because I think it makes it makes non-typical arrangements easier to remember. But we're here on the chorus or the B section, just on the ride cymbal, just going, right, just easy part, but effective. So, we just have a straight slowdown. And for all you drum teachers that stress, you must play with the metronome and make it perfect at all times. Sometimes. Sometimes you just need to go with the flow and go with the feeling. Now, this is proof that I'm almost 100% positive that this song was recorded live. This was not recorded slow tracked, as we say, drums first, and then you add stuff on. And here's why I think that. We know that Jack White is not a big fan of technology and tries to get things done with as little technology as possible. And I can't believe that he would do something that we call beat mapping or tempo mapping, which is a thing that you can do in the studio, in a modern studio, where if you want a part to go slower or a part to speed up and or slow down, you can just map that out and have the metronome speed up or slow down. They're not doing that. What you're hearing is a really tight band that just knows this is going to be the tempo that we slow down to. And you've heard it, like I've talked about him already, the end of The Ocean. It changes, time signature goes from 4/4 to 12/8 and changes tempo completely. And the only way you can do that is to be a really tight band. I'm talking 40-year-old virgin tight. It's the only way you can pull that off. You can also do it, like I said, with beat mapping or time mapping. At least that's what we called it when we've done it, because I have done it. It's very difficult. If you were to beat map from that B to that C section, the first two notes that you play are a crapshoot. If you nail the first two and you're on the metronome, then you're good. But unless you can really feel it, it's very difficult. But what you're hearing here is just a really tight, well-rehearsed band performing this song live. And that's what makes this whole record, I didn't say that before, The Consolers of the Lonely record is fucking great. It's one of the best rock albums of this century, easily. You're hearing a tight-ass band playing.
I can feel it. Somebody has helped me. Find a several. If they're looking for content,
If you've ever played in a stoner or doom band, that's kind of the groove he's playing there. It's just nasty. It's just you just want to make that face when you play a groove like that.
looking for a scapegoat, you're gonna find a several. Looking for something.
We're doing this tempo live.
I can get you something good to eat. Haven't had a decent meal.
So they're going back to the original tempo. And I've done this a lot, and especially the last major band I was in. And it's very difficult to get back to that original tempo when you're playing it live. And Patrick Keeler does it perfectly. And, the easiest way to get into it is he goes, at the end of that doom sludge thing. And that is his way of getting back into the original tempo. It's fucking great. What a great track. What a great drummer.
Brain is fried. Haven't slept a wink for real. My tongue is tied. Light bulbs are getting dim. My interest is starting to wane. I'm told it's everything a man can want, and I shouldn't complain. Conversations.
I love that part. I can't play that part enough. So we've heard that already. We're going to go ahead and skip ahead to the C section and see about this D thing that's about to come up. got some little 30-second note drum fills. Really, the only drum fills that are in this song. There's one during the B section. This song has 3 or 4 just great, perfectly written parts, and more importantly than that, performed perfectly for the way that this song needs to feel. So all that is right there. You're just going, 1 and 2 and, right? Put some 30-second notes between 1, crash on the and now we're into like a double time, what you could call punk rock groove, I guess. It's a 2-measure phrase. You hear him put that bass drum with that guitar part at the end of the phrase. This is fucking great. Back to that original, like, dirgy intro to that song. Everything that I like about a drum part, everything I like about Jack White, everything I like about Patrick Keeler is encompassed in that song. Now, there wasn't anything in there that the Italian guy that plays with one hand couldn't do with no hands, I guess. But it's the choices that he makes and the way that he performs it. The 24-inch bass drum is kind of the redheaded stepchild of the bass drum family. I'm a big proponent of them. Once I've gotten a 24-inch bass drum, I don't think I'm ever going to go back to playing a 22. Patrick Keeler, unfortunately, is the lesser known of the drummers of Jack White. You think Meg White, you think Daru Jones, and obviously you should. But Patrick Keeler, his story is great. He was in a band called the Greenhorns, and they're from out of Cincinnati, and they were like a regional cult following garage revival type band. And Jack White just plucked Patrick Keeler and Jack Lawrence, is that his name? The bass player, out of that band, and just made them stars. And a great example of what that means for a drummer is always be ready, because you never know when Jack White's going to call you. And they've made 3 great records. The last record was great. I don't think it was that very well performing in the sales department, but I mean, what record is? The last one's great. Everything that I've ever heard Patrick Keeler on is wonderful. And there's so many things that can be learned from his simple yet finely crafted drum parts, and that goes to all 3 of those records. So I hope you all like that. If you all did, go check out the other 6 episodes I've done. I think I have a playlist up. If I don't, I will by the time I do this video. If you really like what I'm doing, give me a like, comment, and share. Help me out. I've got a Patreon. I've got merch. All of that is in the description. And if you want to play like Patrick Keeler, you got to keep practicing until it's easy.